Did you know that your body emits an invisible field of energy, pulsing with life, emotion, and spiritual vibrations? This force is real, and understanding it could forever change how you see yourself and others. Welcome to Wisdom Rocker. Today, we're diving into the profound secrets of Swami Panchadasi's 1912 masterpiece. True occult knowledge gives you practical power and strength, the human aura, astral colors, and thought forms. In this video, we'll uncover the mysteries of Chapter 2, the Prana-Aura, the shimmering field of vital energy that reflects your health and physical power. But that's just the foundation. From there, we'll step into the mesmerizing world of Chapters 3 and 4, the astral colors, a dynamic spectrum that reveals your deepest thoughts, emotions, and spiritual vibrations. Join us as we explore the life force of the Prana-Aura and its connection to vitality, the meanings of the astral colors and their revelations about your inner world, the intricate interplay between these energies, offering profound insight into the hidden layers of existence. Get ready to uncover the vibrant, invisible forces that surround you. Let's dive into the extraordinary world of Swami Panchadasi's timeless wisdom.
Chapter 2. The Prana-Aura. Many writers on the subject of the human aura content themselves with a description of the colors of the mental or emotional aura, and omit almost any reference whatsoever to the basic substance or power of the aura. This is like the play of Hamlet, with the character of Hamlet omitted, for unless we understand something concerning the fundamental substance of which the aura is composed, we cannot expect to arrive at a clear understanding of the phenomena which arises from and by reason of the existence of this fundamental substance. We might as well expect a student to understand the principles of color without having been made acquainted with the principles of light. The fundamental substance of which the human aura is composed is none other than that wonderful principle of nature of which one reads so much in all occult writings, which has been called by many names, but which is perhaps best known under the Sanskrit term prana, but which may be thought of as vital essence, life power, etc. It is not necessary in this book to go into the general consideration of the nature and character of prana. It is sufficient for us to consider it in its manifestation of vital force, life essence, etc. in its broadest sense. Prana really is the principle of energy in nature, but in its relation to living forms, it is the vital force which lies at the very basis of manifested life. It exists in all forms of living things, from the most minute microscopic form up to living creatures on higher planes, as much higher than man is higher than the simple microscopic life forms. It permeates them all, and renders possible all life activity and functioning. Prana is not the mind or the soul, but is rather the force or energy through which the soul manifests activity, and the mind manifests thought. It is the steam that runs the physical and mental machinery of life. It is the substance of the human aura, and the colors of mental states are manifested in that substance, just as the colors of chemical bodies are manifested in the substance of water. But prana is not material substance, it is higher than mere matter, being the underlying substance of energy or force in nature. While it is true, as we have seen, that all auras are composed of the substance of prana, it is likewise true that there is a simple and elementary form of auric substance to which occultists have given the simple name of the prana-aura in order to distinguish it from the more complex forms and phases of the human aura. The simplicity of the character of the prana-aura causes it to be more readily sensed or perceived than is possible in the case of the more complex phases or forms of the aura. For whereas it is only the more sensitive organisms that can distinguish the finer vibrations of the mental and emotional aura, and only the clairvoyant sight which can discern its presence by its colors. Almost any person, by a little careful experimenting, may become aware of the presence of the prana-aura, not only in the way of feeling it, but in many cases of actually seeing it with the ordinary vision rightly directed. That which is known as the prana-aura is of course the most simple form or phase of the human aura. It is the form or phase which is more closely bound up with the physical body and is less concerned with the mental states. This fact has caused some writers to speak of it as the health aura or physical aura, both of which terms are fittingly applied, as we shall see, although we prefer the simpler term we have used here, i.e., the prana-aura. For the prana-aura does show the state of the health of the individual radiating it, and it also really contains physical power and magnetism, which may be, and is imparted to others. The basic prana-aura is practically colorless. That is to say, it is about the color of the clearest water or a very clear diamond. By the clairvoyant vision, it is seen to be streaked or marked by very minute, bristle-like lines radiating outward from the physical body of the individual, in a manner very like the quills upon the fretful porcupine, as Shakespeare puts it. In the case of excellent physical health, these bristle-like streaks are stiff and brittle-looking, whereas if the general health of the person be deficient, these bristle-like radiations seem to be more or less tangled, twisted, or curly, and in some cases present a drooping appearance, and in extreme cases present the appearance of soft, limp fur. It may interest the student to know that minute particles of this prana-aura or vital magnetism is sloughed off the body in connection with physical exhalations such as scent, etc., and remain in existence for some time after the person has passed from the particular place at which they were cast off. In fact, as all occultists know, it is these particles of the Prana-Aura which serve to give vitality to the scent of living creatures, which enables dogs and other animals to trace up the track of the person, or animal, for a long time after the person has passed. It is not alone the physical odor, which must be very slight as you will see upon a moment's consideration. It is really the presence of the particles of the Prana-Aura which enables the dog to distinguish the traces of one person among that of thousands of others, and the feat is as much psychical as physical. Another peculiarity of the Prana-Aura is that it is filled with a multitude of extremely minute sparkling particles, resembling tiny electric sparks, which are in constant motion. These sparks, which are visible to persons of only slightly developed psychic power, impart a vibratory motion to the Prana-Aura which, under certain conditions, is plainly visible to the average person. This vibratory movement is akin to the movement of heated air arising from a hot stove, or from the heated earth on a midsummer day. If the student will close his eyes partially until he peers out from narrowed lids, and then will closely observe some very healthy person sitting in a dim light, he may perceive this undulating, pulsing vibration extending an inch or two from the surface of the body. It requires some little knack to recognize these vibrations, but a little practice will often give one the key, and after the first recognition, the matter becomes easy. Again, in the case of persons of active brains, one may perceive this pulsating prana-aura around the head of the person, particularly when he is engaged in concentrated, active thought. A little practice will enable almost anyone to perceive faintly the dim outlines of the prana-aura around his own fingers and hand, by placing his hand against a black background, in a dim light, and then gazing at it with narrowed eyelids, squinting if necessary. Under these circumstances, after a little practice, one will be apt to perceive a tiny outlined aura, or radiation, or halo, of pale yellowish light surrounding the hand. By extending the fingers, fan shape, you will perceive that each finger is showing its own little outlined prana-aura. The stronger the vital force, the plainer will be the perception of the phenomenon. Often the prana-aura in these experiments will appear like the semi-luminous radiance surrounding a candle flame or gas light. Under the best conditions, the radiation will assume an almost phosphorescent appearance. Remember, this is simply a matter of trained ordinary sight, not clairvoyant vision. This prana-aura is identical with human magnetism, which is employed in ordinary magnetic healing. That is to say, it is the outer manifestation of the wonderful pranic force. It is felt when you shake hands, or otherwise come in close physical contact with a strongly magnetic person. On the other hand, it is what the weakly, human vampire-like persons unconsciously, or consciously, try to draw off from strong persons, if the latter allow them so to do from one of knowledge of self-protection. Who has not met persons of this kind, who seem to sap one's very life force away from him? Remember, then, that the prana-aura is the aura or radiation of life force, or vital power, which is the steam of your living activity, physical and mental. It is the pouring out of the vital steam which is running your vital machinery. Its presence indicates life, its absence lifelessness. Chapter 3. The Astral Colors. The term astral, so frequently employed by all occultists, is difficult to explain or define except to those who have pursued a regular course of study in occult science. For the purpose of the present consideration, it is enough to say that over and above the ordinary physical sense plane, there is another and more subtle plane, known as the astral plane. Every human being possesses the innate and inherent faculty of sensing the things of this astral plane by means of an extension or enlargement of the powers of the ordinary senses, so to speak. But in the majority of persons in the present stage of development, these astral senses are lying dormant, and only here and there do we find individuals who are able to sense on the astral plane, although in the course of evolution the entire race will be able to do so. Of course, the colors of the human aura, mentioned in the preceding 2 chapters, and which arise from the various mental and emotional states, belong to the phenomena of the astral plane, and hence bear the name of the astral colors. Belonging to the astral plane, and not to the ordinary physical plane, they are perceived only by the senses functioning on the astral plane, and are invisible to the ordinary physical plane sight. But to those who have developed the astral sight, or clairvoyance, these colors are as real as are the ordinary colors to the average person, and their phenomena have been as carefully recorded by occult science as have the physical plane colors by physical science. The fact that to the ordinary physical senses they are invisible does not render them any the less real. Remember, in this connection, that to the blind man our physical colors do not exist. And for that matter, the ordinary colors do not exist to color-blind persons. The ordinary physical plane person is simply color-blind to the astral colors, that's all. On the astral plane, each shade of mental or emotional state has its corresponding astral color, the latter manifesting when the form appears. It follows then, of course, that when once the occultist has the key to this color correspondence, and thus is able to perceive the astral colors by means of his astral vision, he also is able to read the mental and emotional states of any person within the range of his vision, as easily as you are now reading the printed words of this book. Before proceeding to a consideration of the list of astral colors in the human aura, I wish to call your attention to a slight variation in the case of the Prana-Aura, of which I have spoken in our last chapter. I have stated therein that the Prana-Aura is colorless like a diamond or clear water. This is true in the average case, but in the case of a person of very strong physical vitality or virility, the Prana-Aura takes on, at times, a faint warm pink tinge, which is really a reflection from the red astral color, of the meaning of which color you shall now learn. Like their physical plane counterparts, all the astral colors are formed from 3 primary colors, namely 1 red, 2 blue, and 3 yellow. From these 3 primary colors, all other colors are formed. Following the primary colors, we find what are known as the secondary colors, namely 1 green, derived from a combination of yellow and blue, 2 orange, formed from a combination of yellow and red, and 3 purple, formed from a combination of red and blue. Other combinations produce the other colors, as for instance, green and purple form olive orange, and purple form russet green, and orange form citrine. Black is called an absence of color, while white is really a harmonious blending of all colors. Strange as this may appear to one who has not studied the subject, the blending of the primary colors in varied proportions produce what is known as the hues of color. Adding white to the hues, we obtain tints, while mixing black produces shades. Strictly speaking, black and white are known as neutral colors. Now, for the meaning of the astral colors, that is, the explanation of the mental or emotional state represented by each, I ask that the student familiarize himself with the meaning of the primary colors and their combinations. A clear understanding of the key of the astral colors is often an aid in the development of astral sight. The key to the astral colors. Red. Red represents the physical phase of mentality. That is to say, it stands for that part of the mental activities which are concerned with physical life. It is manifested by the vitality of the body, and in other hues, tints, and shades is manifested by passions, anger, physical cravings, etc. I shall describe the various forms of red manifestation a little later on. Blue. Blue represents the religious or spiritual phase of mentality. That is to say, it stands for that part of the mental activities which are concerned with high ideals, altruism, devotion, reverence, veneration, etc. It is manifested in its various hues, tints, and shades by all forms of religious feeling and emotion, high and low, as we shall see as we proceed. Yellow. Yellow represents the intellectual phase of mentality. That is to say, it stands for that part of the mental activities which are concerned with reasoning, analysis, judgment, logical processes, induction, deduction, syntheses, etc. in its various hues, tints, and shades. In shades, it is manifested by the various forms of intellectual activity, high and low, as we shall see as we proceed. The white. White stands for what occultists know as pure spirit, which is a very different thing from the religious emotion of spirituality, and which really is the essence of the all that really is. Pure spirit is the positive pole of being. We shall see the part played by it in the astral colors as we proceed. Black. Black stands for the negative pole of being the very negation of pure spirit and opposing it in every way. We shall see the part played by it in the astral colors as we proceed. The various combinations of the 3 astral primary colors are formed in connection with black and white, as well as by the blending of the 3 themselves. These combinations, of course, result from the shades of mental and emotional activity manifested by the individuality, of which they are the reflection and the key. The combinations and blending of the astral colors, however, are numberless and present an almost infinite variety. Not only is the blending caused by the mixing of the colors themselves in connection with black and white, but in many cases the body of one color is found to be streaked, striped, dotted, or clouded by other colors. At times there is perceived the mixture of 2 antagonistic color streams fighting against each other before blending. Again, we see the effect of one color neutralizing another. In some cases, great black clouds obscure the bright colors beneath, and then darken the fierce glow of color, just as is often witnessed in the case of a physical conflagration. Again, we find great flashes of bright yellow or red flaring across the field of the aura, showing agitation or the conflict of intellect and passion. The average student, who has not developed the astral vision, is inclined to imagine that the astral colors in the human aura present the appearance of an egg-shaped rainbow, or spectrum, or something of that sort. But this is a great mistake. In the first place, the astral colors are seldom at rest, for all mental and emotional activity is the result of vibration, change, and rhythmic motion. Consequently, the colors of the aura present a kaleidoscopic appearance of constant change of color, shape, and grouping, a great electrical display, so to speak, constantly shifting, changing, and blending. Great tongues of flame-like emanations project themselves beyond the border of the aura, under strong feeling or excitement, and great vibratory whirls and swirls are manifested. The sight is most fascinating, although somewhat terrifying at first. Nature is wise in bestowing the gift of astral vision only gradually and by almost imperceptible stages of advance. There are many unpleasant, as well as pleasant, sights on the astral plane. Chapter 4. The astral colors continued. Remembering always the significance of the three primary colors on the astral plane, let us consider the meaning of the combinations, shades, hues, and tints of these colors. The red group. In this group of astral colors seen in the human aura, we find strongly in evidence the clear bright red shade, similar to that of fresh, pure arterial blood as it leaves the heart, filled with pure material freshly oxygenated. This shade in the aura indicates health, life force, vigor, virility, etc., in pure and untainted form. The aura of a healthy, strong child shows this shade of color very plainly and strongly. Strong, pure natural emotions such as friendship, love of companionship, love of physical exercise, healthy clean sports, etc., are manifested by a clear clean shade of red. When these feelings become tainted with selfishness, low motives, etc., the shade grows darker and duller. Love of low companionship, unclean sports, or selfish games, etc., produce an unpleasant muddy red shade. The shade of red, very near to crimson, is the astral color of love, but the tint and shade varies greatly according to the nature of this form of emotional feeling. A very high form of love, which seeks the good of the loved one, rather than the satisfaction of oneself, manifests as a beautiful rose tint, one of the most pleasing of the astral tints, by the way. Descending in the scale, we find the crimson shade becoming darker and duller, until we descend to the plane of impure, sensual, coarse passion, which is manifested by an ugly, dull, muddy crimson of a repulsive appearance, suggesting blood mixed with dirty earth or barnyard soil. A peculiar series of red shades are those manifesting anger in its various forms, from the vivid scarlet flashes of anger color, arising from what may be called righteous indignation down the scale to the ugly flashes of deep, dull red, betokening rage and uncontrolled passion. The red of anger generally shows itself in flashes or great leaping flames, often accompanied by a black background, in the case of malicious hate, or by a dirty greenish background when the rage arises from jealousy or envy. The color of avarice is a very ugly combination of dull, dark red, and a dirty, ugly green. If persons could see their own astral colors accompanying these undesirable mental states, the sight would perhaps so disgust them with such states as to work a cure. At any rate, they are most disgusting and repulsive to the occultist who beholds them in the human aura, and he often wonders why they do not sicken the person manifesting them. They often do just this thing. To tell the truth, the yellow group. In this group of astral colors seen in the human aura, we find as many varieties as we do in the red group. Yellow, denoting intellect, has many degrees of shade and tint, and many degrees of clearness. An interesting shade in this group is that of orange, which represents different forms of pride of intellect, intellectual ambition, love of mastery by will, etc. The greater degree of red in the astral orange color, the greater the connection with the physical or animal nature. Pride and love of power over others has much red in its astral color, while love of intellectual mastery has much less red in its composition. Pure intellectual attainment and the love of the same is manifested by a beautiful clear golden yellow. Great teachers often have this so strongly in evidence that at times their students have glimpses of a golden halo around the head of the teacher. The teachers of great spirituality have this nimbus of golden yellow with a border of beautiful blue tint strongly in evidence. The paintings of the great spiritual teachers of the race usually have this radiance pictured as a halo showing a recognition of the phenomenon on the part of the great artists. Hoffman's celebrated painting of the Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane shows this nimbus so accurately depicted that the occultist is convinced that this artist must have actually witnessed a similar scene in the astral light. So true to the astral facts are its details. The images of the Buddha also show this radiance. The rich golden shades of intellectual yellow are comparatively rare, a sickly lemon color being the only indication of intellectual power and found in the aura of the great run of persons. To the sight of the occultist, employing his power of astral vision, a crowd of persons will manifest here and there, at widely separated points, the bright golden yellow of the true intellect, appearing like scattered lighted candles among a multitude of faintly burning matches. The green group. This is a peculiar group, consisting as of course it does of various combinations of blues and yellows, tinted and shaded by white or black. Even skilled occultists find it very difficult to account for the fact of certain green shades arising from the spiritual blue and the intellectual yellow. This is one of the most obscure points in the whole subject of the astral colors. And none but the most advanced occultists are able to explain the why in some instances. To those who are fond of analysis of this kind, I will drop the following hint, which may help them out in the matter. Vidlicet, the key is found in the fact that green lies in the center of the astral spectrum and is a balance between the two extremes. and is also influenced by these two extremes in a startling manner. A certain restful green denotes love of nature, out-of-door life, travel in the country, etc., and also slightly differing in tint, the love of home scenes, etc. Again, a clear, beautiful, lighter tint of green indicates what may be called sympathy, altruistic emotion, charity, etc. Again, illustrating variety in this group of astral colors. Another shade of green shows intellectual tolerance of the views of others. Growing duller, this indicates tact, diplomacy, ability to handle human nature, and descending another degree or so blends into insincerity, shiftiness, untruth, etc. There is an ugly slate-colored green indicating low, tricky deceit. This is a very common shade in the colors of the average aura. I am sorry to say. Finally, a particularly ugly, muddy, murky green indicates jealousy and kindred feelings, envious, malice, etc. The blue group. This interesting group of astral colors represents the varying forms and degrees of religious emotion, spirituality, etc. The highest form of spiritual, religious feeling and thought is represented by a beautiful, rich, clear violet tint, while the lower and more gross phases of religious emotion and thought are represented by the darker and duller hues, tints, and shades until a deep, dark indigo is reached. So dark that it can scarcely be distinguished from a bluish black. This latter color, as might be expected, indicates a low superstitious form of religion, scarcely worthy of the latter name. Religion, we must remember, has its low places as well as its heights. Its garden grows the rarest flowers, and at the same time the vilest weeds. High spiritual feelings, true spiritual unfoldment is indicated by a wonderfully clear light blue of an unusual tint, something akin to the clear light blue of the sky on a cool autumn afternoon, just before sunset. Even when we witness an approach to this color in nature, we are inspired by an uplifting feeling as if we were in the presence of higher things. So true is the intuition regarding these things. Morality of a high degree is indicated by a series of beautiful shades of blue, always of a clear, inspiring tint. Religious feeling ruled by fear is indicated by a shade of bluish gray. Purple denotes a love of form and ceremony, particularly those connected with religious offices or regal grandeur of a solemn kind. Purple, naturally, was chosen as the royal color in the olden days. The brown group. The brown group of astral colors represents desire for gain and accumulation, ranging from the clear brown of industrious accumulation to the murky dull browns of miserliness, greed, and avarice. There is a great range in this group of brown shades as may be imagined. The gray group. The group of grays represents a negative group of thought and emotions. Gray represents fear, depression, lack of courage, negativity, etc. This is an undesirable and unpleasant group. Black. Black, in the astral colors, stands for hatred, malice, revenge, and devilishness generally. It shades the brighter colors into their lower aspects and robs them of their beauty. It stands for hate, also for gloom, depression, pessimism, etc. White. White is the astral color of pure spirit, as we have seen, and its presence raises the degree of the other colors and renders them clearer. In fact, the perception of the highest degree of being known to the most advanced occultist is manifested to the highest adepts and masters in the form of the great white light, which transcends any light ever witnessed by the sight of man on either physical or astral plane, for it belongs to a plane higher than either, and is absolute rather than a relative white. The presence of white among the astral colors of the human aura betokens a high degree of spiritual attainment and unfoldment, and when seen permeating the entire aura, it is one of the signs of the master, the token of adeptship. We've explored the radiant mysteries of the human aura today, from the vital force of the Prana-Aura to the kaleidoscope of astral colors that reflect our innermost selves. These unseen forces offer profound insights into our health, emotions, and spiritual states, reminding us that the visible world is only part of the story. But this is just the beginning. In the next video, we'll uncover the auric kaleidoscope, a swirling, ever-changing dance of colors and energies that responds to every thought, feeling, and moment of our lives. We'll also touch on the mysterious etheric double, the shadowy twin that might just explain some of the world's most puzzling phenomena, from apparitions to psychic impressions. If today's journey into the unseen inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Rocker. Your support helps us bring more ancient knowledge into the modern light. And as always, stay curious, stay open, and remember the universe has layers waiting to be revealed. See you in the next video.